maybe 2 hours later I prayed Taraweeh at home. So was it okay, or did I do something wrong by praying alone at home?
A lot of the Muslims think that Taraweeh has to be prayed in the masjid. Now, this is not true.
The night was quiet. A soft breeze moved through the open window. The city was not fully asleep, but it was calm. Lights glowed from a few houses. Somewhere in the distance, a masjid speaker carried the gentle sound of recitation from Tara-weeh. Ahmad sat on the edge of his bed and listened. He had prayed Isha. He had intended to go to the masjid for Taraweeh, but he did not move. His body felt heavy, his heart felt even heavier. He told himself he was tired. Work had been long, traffic had been stressful, his phone had taken more of his evening than he wanted to admit. Still, as the verses of the Qur'an floated through the night air, something inside him felt small. He whispered to himself, maybe tomorrow. But tomorrow had been coming and going for the past 10 nights. Ahmad was not a bad person. He was kind to his parents. He worked honestly. He gave charity sometimes, but lately he felt distant, not rebellious, not angry at Allah, just distant. He prayed, but quickly. He made dua, but without tears. He attended Taraweeh at the start of Ramadan with excitement. Then slowly laziness crept in. One night missed, then two. Then it became easier to stay home. He told himself that praying at home was allowed. He had heard that some of the Sahaba sometimes prayed Taraweeh at home, so he thought, it is fine, I am still praying. But the truth was uncomfortable. Some nights he did not pray it at all. He would scroll on his phone, watch short videos, laugh at things that did not matter, then suddenly it would be late. He would lie down and say, Allah is most merciful. That was true, but he was using mercy as an excuse. The sound of the recitation outside made his chest tighten. He imagined rows of believers standing together, old men leaning on canes, young boys trying to stay awake, imams reciting slowly, hearts soft in sujood. And he was sitting on his bed. A quiet thought entered his mind. When did you become so comfortable with distance? The next day at work he felt restless. On his drive home he reflected. It was not just about Taraweeh, it was about his heart. He remembered a meaning from the Qur'an, that Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change what is within themselves. He had heard this many times, it was not new. But that evening it felt personal. He realized he had slowly allowed his priorities to shift. He was not openly sinful, but he was neglectful. Neglect can be quiet, it does not shout, it whispers. That night he told himself he would go to the masjid, but when Isha ended, his legs again felt heavy. He stayed home. He prayed Taraweeh alone in his room. After finishing, he sat on the prayer mat. There was no sukoon. He raised his hands for dua. His words were dry. Ya Allah, forgive me. But even as he said it, he felt something missing. Sincerity, humility. He lowered his hands slowly. He remembered a short reminder he once heard from Shaykh Aseem Al-Hakeem. It was simple.
The Muslims think that Taraweeh has to be prayed in the masjid. Now, this is not true. Taraweeh is a highly recommended sunnah offered by the Prophet ﷺ 2 or 3 nights, and then he stopped.
The Shaykh had explained that some of the Sahaba prayed Taraweeh at home, yes, and he had said something like, the action is not just about where you pray, it is about why. That sentence echoed in Ahmad's mind. Why was he staying home? Not out of sincerity, not out of fear of riyah, just a comfort. He felt exposed, not by people, by his own honesty. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught in a well-known hadith that actions are judged by intentions. Ahmad had heard this since childhood. He could almost recite it from memory. But he had not applied it to himself recently. He asked himself quietly, what is my intention these nights? A silence answered him. The following evening, he did something small. After Maghrib, he turned off his phone. He placed it in a drawer. He told himself he would not touch it until after Tara-weeh. It felt strange, almost uncomfortable. He prayed Isha slowly. When it ended, he stood in the living room. The masjid was a 10-minute walk away. His mind began its usual excuses. You are tired. You can pray at home. It is not obligatory. He stood still. Then he remembered another meaning from the Qur'an, that Allah is close, closer than one might think, and that he responds to the one who calls upon him. He felt a gentle shame, not crushing, just enough to wake him up. He put on his shoes. The walk to the masjid was quiet. The night air felt cooler than usual. As he entered, he saw familiar faces. An elderly man who always came early, a teenager reciting softly from the Qur'an in the corner. He stood in the row. When the recitation began, he listened carefully. The verses spoke about mercy, about forgiveness, about people who turn back to Allah after making mistakes. His eyes filled slowly. He realized something important. He had been acting as if he needed to be perfect before coming back fully, as if his small neglect disqualified him. But the message of the Qur'an was clear. Allah loves those who turn back. In sujood, his forehead pressed against the carpet. His heart felt softer than it had in weeks. Ya Allah, he whispered in his dua, I am weak, but I want to be close to you. He did not feel fireworks. He did not feel dramatic transformation. But he felt honesty. Over the next few nights, he did not promise himself perfection. He promised consistency. Some nights he went to the masjid. Some nights he prayed at home. But when he prayed at home, he prayed slowly, with focus, not rushed, not distracted. He reminded himself of the sincerity of the Sahaba. They chose their actions based on their hearts, not comfort. He also began watching his character during the day. When he felt anger rising, he paused. He remembered that prayer is supposed to soften behavior, that one of the signs of accepted worship is better manners. He tried to speak gently at home. An evening, as he sat after Taraweeh, he reflected on the month so far. He realized that the real struggle was not about location, masjid or home. It was about presence. Was his heart present? The last 10 nights approached. The atmosphere in the masjid grew more emotional, longer recitation, longer dua. One of those nights, Ahmad chose to pray at home. But this time it was different. He stood alone in his room. The lights were dim, the world was quiet. He recited slowly from the Qur'an. His voice was not beautiful, but it was sincere. He paused at verses of mercy. He made dua after them. He asked for forgiveness, for his laziness, for his impatience, for the distance he had allowed. And he felt close. He understood something deeply. The Sahaba who prayed Taraweeh at home were not escaping worship. They were protecting sincerity. And he had almost used their example to escape effort. Now he used their example to purify intention. The difference was subtle but powerful. On the final night of Ramadan, he stood once more in prayer. He felt gratitude, not pride. He knew he was still imperfect. He would still struggle after Ramadan. Laziness would return sometimes, distractions would call him again. But he had learned something. Returning is always open. The door does not close because of a few missed nights. The Qur'an reminds again and again that Allah is most merciful, that He forgives those who turn back sincerely. Ahmad smiled softly after finishing his final dua of the night. He no longer felt unworthy. He felt hopeful. As he lay down to sleep, the same soft breeze moved through his window. The city was quiet again, but his heart was different. Not perfect, but peaceful. He whispered one last dua before closing his eyes. Ya Allah, keep me close, even when I am weak. And in that simple request, there was sukoon. Sometimes the lesson is not about where we stand in prayer, it is about how we stand before Allah. Sometimes the journey back is not loud, it is a quiet step, a small choice, a sincere intention. And that is enough to begin. The night remained calm, and so did his heart.
If you pray home and you do your Taraweeh, that is totally fine. No one on earth would say, shame on you. Last night we prayed Taraweeh in the masjid and you did not show up.